My name is Sierra Langford. I'm 31 years old. And I didn't know my relationship was already dead until I heard my own lock being assaulted by a screwdriver, while my boyfriend narrated it like a victory speech. He was shouting into his phone on Instagram Live, voice pitched sweet and trembling, the way people sound when they're trying to be believed. "I'm breaking up with her right now," he told the screen, "and I'm kicking her out. I'm done being treated like this." The camera swung, and for a second I saw myself reflected in his phone. Bare feet, an old college t-shirt, a beer in my hand. Not crying, not screaming, just watching. He turned back to the lock, shoulders tense with performance. In the glow of the hallway light, you could actually see the sweat on his temple. And the worst part? I could hear the comments through his speaker, piling up like gasoline. "You got this, King. She doesn't deserve you. Expose her. Kick her out." It was my apartment, my lease, my furniture, my stupid little plant that I'd kept alive for 3 years out of sheer spite. And he was trying to change my locks like the internet had already granted him ownership. I took one slow sip of beer and said as evenly as I could, "Entertainment for your followers." He froze. Not because he suddenly realized how insane this was. No, because that wasn't the reaction he'd ordered from me. He wanted a scene, a meltdown, a confession. He wanted a clip that would keep circulating after the live ended. "What?" he snapped, still holding the screwdriver. His smile flickered, then returned, glued back on for the camera. "See? That's what I deal with. Cold, dismissive, like I'm nothing." My boyfriend's name was Ethan Cross. 14 months ago, I would have described him as magnetic, the kind of man who walked into a room like he belonged in it, like the air should rearrange itself politely to make space. I met him at a friend's birthday party, one of those crowded bar patios with heat lamps and overpriced cocktails and everyone talking too loudly because the music was too loud. Ethan had been standing near the drinks table, telling a story with his hands, laughing like he was the punchline and the audience at the same time. He had that easy charm, warm eye contact, quick compliments, the kind that make you feel seen instead of sized up. He told me he worked in social media marketing. I learned later that what he really meant was, "I'm trying to become famous on purpose." Back then, he had about 8,000 followers. Lifestyle content, day in the life, outfit posts, relationship advice. Yes, relationship advice. I swear, if you want to understand irony, watch someone film a healthy boundaries reel in the mirror of a bathroom they don't pay rent to use. Things moved fast. Too fast, probably. Within a month, he was at my place 4 nights a week. By month 3, half his wardrobe had migrated into my closet like it had its own visa. By month 6, he was there every night. But here's the detail I ignored, because it was easier to call it romance. He never moved in officially, never paid rent, never signed anything, never got added to the lease. When I brought it up, carefully, like I was afraid of scaring him, he'd laugh and pull me into his arms. "Babe," he'd say into my hair, "we're not roommates, we're partners. That's so transactional." And I was stupid enough to think that sounded romantic instead of like a warning label. I'm not naive in every area of life. I have a stable job. I'm a network engineer. Boring, consistent, the kind of work where truth matters because the system either functions or it doesn't. No filters, no captions, no pretending. But Ethan lived in a world where reality was just raw material. Around month 10, it got worse. He became obsessed with content like it was oxygen. Everything was content. Our dinners, our arguments, the way I looked at him when I was tired. Date nights turned into productions. A restaurant table wasn't a table, it was a set. My smile wasn't a smile, it was a thumbnail decision. One night I walked into the kitchen and nearly tripped over a ring light set up in front of my fridge. "What is this?" I asked. He didn't even look up from his phone. "It's for the angle. The lighting in here is terrible." "In my kitchen." He grinned like I was adorable for not getting it. "Our kitchen." And then, like a little poison candy wrapped in sweetness, he added, "Trust me, this is going to do numbers." Sometimes he staged arguments for his toxic relationship series. He'd poke at me until I snapped. Then he'd try to capture the aftermath, the real emotion, the shaking voice. The first time I thought it was a one-off, a bad idea. The second time, I realized he was disappointed when I refused to participate. "You're killing my engagement, Sierra," he told me once, completely serious, like engagement was something you bled. But the loud issues weren't even the worst ones. The real rot was quieter. I'd come home from work and he'd be on my couch, phone in hand, scrolling, filming, editing, ignoring me for hours. And when I tried to talk about us, about boundaries, about how I was starting to feel like a prop in my own home, he'd tilt his head and weaponize softness. "You want me to fail?" he'd say. It was never, "I hear you." It was always, "Look what you're doing to me." 2 Fridays ago, I came home early. I'd wrapped up a project ahead of schedule and decided, stupidly, tenderly, to surprise him. I stopped by his favorite Thai place, got the basil chicken, the extra sticky rice, the mango dessert he always claimed he didn't need, but always ate. I walked in around 4 p.m. and heard his voice before I even saw him. He was on the couch, phone propped up, recording. So I stayed quiet. Set the takeout down in the kitchen. Let myself smile, just a little, because I still believed in us enough to feel happy about fried rice. And then I heard him say, "So yeah, I'm basically supporting her at this point." I froze. My apartment, my lease, my utilities, my couch he was sitting on, my Netflix account he'd kicked me off of to add his cousin. He kept going, voice smooth like he'd practiced. "She works, but she barely contributes. I pay for most of our lifestyle. It's exhausting, honestly." My chest didn't flare with anger at first. It went cold. Because it wasn't just a lie. It was a lie told with confidence. Like he believed the camera more than he believed the life we actually lived. He laughed softly, shaking his head for effect. "I think I'm going to end it soon. I've just outgrown her, you know? She's comfortable, but I need someone who matches my ambition." As he spoke, a notification popped on his screen, his DMs, briefly reflected in the glass of my TV. A name I recognized. Madison Vale, his ex-girlfriend. He told me she was nothing, a closed chapter, a mistake. But her name glowed there like a ghost with a key. I stepped into the living room. Ethan saw me. His face went white, just for a second, then the performer snapped back into place. He smiled directly at the camera, like we were in on a joke together. "Oh, babe's home," he chirped. "Gotta go, loves." He ended the recording. The silence afterward was so thick it felt physical, like a heavy blanket thrown over a fire. "What the hell was that?" I asked. He blinked innocently. "What was what?" "You just told thousands of people you support me," I said, voice steady, in a way that surprised even me. "In my apartment, that I pay for." He rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. "It's content, Sierra. God, you're so literal." "Content," I repeated, tasting the word like it was rust. "So you're lying." He leaned back against the couch, unbothered. "I'm not lying. I'm creating a narrative. It's called engagement." That word, engagement, landed in my stomach like a stone. Because the way he said it, you'd think our relationship was a marketing metric, a campaign, something you optimize and abandon when it stops performing. I told him we needed to talk, really talk, about honesty, about boundaries, about whether we were even real anymore. He waved me off. "I have a sponsored post to film," he said, already reaching for his phone again. "We'll talk later." I said, "No, we're talking now." His eyes narrowed, just a flash. Then he smiled again, sweeter, sharper. "You're being controlling," he said. And then he left. Not storming, not slamming the door. He grabbed his ring light like it was the only thing he truly owned and walked out of my apartment like I was the inconvenience. He didn't come back that night. Saturday, he was active on Instagram. Stories from what looked like a hotel. Champagne, face masks, self-care captions. "You deserve better, King. Leave her. She doesn't appreciate you." Sunday morning, I texted him. "We need to figure this out. Are you coming back to talk, or are you coming to get your things?" He read it. Didn't respond. Sunday evening, around 6 p.m., I heard keys at my door. My keys. He had a copy. The lock clicked, and something inside me tightened. An instinct older than logic. Because I knew before he even stepped inside that he wasn't coming back to fix anything. He was coming back to finish the story the way he wanted it told. Ethan walked in with his phone already raised, front camera on, the red live badge glowing like a warning sign. "Hey, loves," he said, voice sugary and fake. "We're live." And then he turned the camera toward me like I was the villain in a show I never auditioned for. "Say hi to Sierra," he told his viewers. The viewer count ticked upward. 1,000. 2,000. And climbing. I stared at the little screen, at my own face trapped inside it, while my apartment suddenly felt too small to breathe in. And Ethan smiled, like a man who believed an audience could replace accountability. "Okay," I said softly, setting my beer down. My voice didn't shake, but my hands did. "Tell them," I whispered, "what you really came here to do." He widened his eyes for the camera, the perfect picture of wounded innocence. And behind that performance, behind the ring light glow in his gaze, I saw the truth. He wasn't breaking up with me privately. He was trying to erase me publicly. And he wanted the internet to clap while he did it. Ethan didn't hesitate. He tilted the phone so the camera caught me on the couch, still, silent, framed like evidence, and then turned it back to himself. "So," he said to the screen, voice trembling on cue, "I think it's time I finally stand up for myself." My name scrolled past in the comments. My face froze in thumbnails I didn't consent to. "Ethan," I said calmly, "turn the camera off." He laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "See, this is what I deal with. Control, always control." The viewer count jumped again. 3,000, then 4. I stood, careful not to rush, like sudden movement might give him what he wanted. "We can talk," I said, "but not on Instagram." "No," he replied quickly. "I think we need witnesses. People need to see the truth." He turned back to the camera, shoulders squaring like he'd rehearsed this moment in a mirror. "So I'm officially breaking up with her," he announced. "Right now, and yes, I'm kicking her out." For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. I actually laughed. "You're kicking me out?" I asked. He flinched, just a hairline crack in the performance. Then he leaned into it harder. "This relationship is toxic," he said, voice quivering with theatrical pain. "I've given you everything, Sierra. Everything. And you've given me nothing but criticism and negativity." The comments exploded. "She looks so cold. Classic narcissistic stare. Run, King. Kick her out." I sat back down. The couch creaked. The same couch I'd paid for, waited 6 weeks for delivery, assembled myself. "Okay," I said. "Entertainment for your followers." That stopped him. "What?" he snapped, breaking character for half a second. I shrugged. "This is what you want, right? Drama, content. So go ahead, kick me out of my own apartment." The word "own" landed. He recovered fast, too fast, spun back to the camera. "You know what? I'm done." He reached into his backpack. "I'm literally changing the locks right now so she can't manipulate me into staying." He pulled out a hardware store bag. Inside it, brand new deadbolt, still in plastic. My stomach dropped, not from fear, but from disbelief. He'd planned this. He walked to the door and knelt, already narrating. "This is me choosing myself, loves," he said, jabbing the screwdriver into the screws. "This is me taking my power back." I didn't stop him. I just watched. He struggled with the screws, grunting slightly, the camera shaking as he tried to look heroic and competent at the same time. The viewer count climbed. 6,000, 7. I took another sip of beer. The absurdity of it all settled over me like a strange calm. My life, my home, reduced to a live episode with ad breaks and emojis. Then someone knocked. Hard. Ethan froze, screwdriver still pressed to metal. "Who is that?" he whispered sharply. I smiled. Probably building security. I hadn't called them, but I'd been hoping. He stood and opened the door, still filming. 2 security guards were there, Mark and Elena. I knew them both. They'd helped me move in 2 years ago, joked about how heavy my couch was. "Evening," Mark said. "We got a call about a disturbance." "No disturbance," Ethan said quickly, camera angled to catch their faces. "Just moving some things around." Elena looked past him, straight at me. "Everything okay, Sierra?" I nodded once. "Honestly, no, he's trying to change the locks." Ethan spun toward me. "Are you serious right now?" Mark's tone shifted. Professional, firm. "Sir, are you on the lease for this unit?" The viewer count hit 8,000. Ethan blinked. "I live here." "That's not what I asked," Mark said. "Are you on the lease?" Ethan laughed nervously. "We're partners. It's not about paperwork." Elena crossed her arms. "Actually, it is." I could have hugged her. "If you're not on the lease," she continued, "you can't change the locks. That's property damage." Ethan turned the camera on them. "You're all seeing this, right? This is what systems do to control people." "Sir," Mark said, voice firmer now, "we need you to stop filming and step into the hallway." "I'm not going anywhere," Ethan snapped. "This is my home." I stood. "No," I said quietly. "It's not. It never was." His eyes met mine, pure fury now, stripped of filters. "You don't get to rewrite this," he hissed. "I'm not rewriting anything," I said. "You just finally said it out loud." Elena stepped forward. "Sir, you need to come with us to the office so we can sort this out." Ethan shook his head wildly. "I'm not turning the camera off." "You can film in the hallway," Mark said, "but not in the apartment." And just like that, his stage disappeared. He backed into the hallway, still live, still narrating. "I'm literally being forced out right now," he told his followers. "This is unbelievable." I followed them, not to engage, but to make sure he actually left. In the elevator, his follower count ticked upward again. 10,000. Down in the security office, the building manager, Tom, mid-50s, no patience for nonsense, was already waiting. He looked at Ethan's phone, then at me. then sighed. "You're live streaming this?" he asked. "My followers deserve the truth," Ethan said. Tom turned to his computer. "The truth is simple." He pulled up the lease. "Only Sierra Langford is listed for Unit 407, he said. "You've never applied, never paid rent, and you're not authorized to alter the locks." The comments started to change. "Wait, he's not on the lease? Did he lie?" Ethan looked at me. For the first time, real fear broke through. "Sierra," he said softly, "you're not really doing this." "You tried to kick me out of my own home," I replied, on camera. "Yes," I paused, "I'm really doing this." Tom folded his hands. "You can retrieve your belongings tomorrow with an escort. Tonight, you need to leave." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Maybe real, maybe not, but the camera stayed up. "This is abuse," he sobbed. "Financial abuse." Tom didn't flinch. "Sir, if you don't leave the property now, we'll call the police for trespassing." That did it. Ethan lowered the phone, just slightly. "Fine," he muttered, "but this isn't over." He walked out, still streaming, crying, as he crossed the lobby and stepped into the street. Later, I watched the recording. He made it 3 blocks before ending the live. 12,000 people had seen him escorted out of a place he claimed was his. I went back upstairs alone. The apartment was quiet. His ring light still stood in the corner. His clothes were still in my closet. But the performance was over, and the truth finally had witnesses. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid he'd come back. I knew security wouldn't let that happen, but because my phone wouldn't stop vibrating on the coffee table, lighting up the dark like a pulse I couldn't escape. By morning, Ethan's version of the story had already been uploaded. A 15-minute IG video. Soft lighting, no background noise. His face carefully framed, eyes red but steady, voice low and intimate. He titled it, "My Truth." In it, he talked about narcissistic abuse, about being emotionally silenced, about how he'd supported a partner who took advantage of his generosity and then used systems and authority to humiliate him publicly. He never said my name. He didn't have to. My DMs filled with strangers who felt personally entitled to me. "You're disgusting. Hope you die alone. Abusers don't deserve peace." Someone found my LinkedIn, left a comment on my company's page asking why they employed a manipulative woman who financially trapped her partner. That one made my hands shake. I sat at my kitchen counter, staring at my phone, wondering how quickly a lie could colonize a life. Then I called Devin. Devin had been my friend since college. He was the kind of lawyer who didn't posture, just listened, then asked questions that mattered. He watched the live stream recording, all of it. The lock, the lease, the escort. Then he watched Ethan's IG video. Finally, he said, "Screenshot everything." "For what?" I asked. "For when this flips," he replied, "because it will." I didn't believe him. Not yet. Tuesday afternoon, Ethan came back to get his things. He brought his mother. Security escorted them. I stayed in the bedroom, door closed, listening to the sounds of a life being dismantled in someone else's voice. His mom spoke first, low and strained. "Baby, you should have gotten on the lease." "That's not the point, Mom," Ethan snapped. "They made it about paperwork to silence me." Boxes slid across the floor. Zippers opened, closed. They took clothes, shoes, toiletries. They left the ring light. They left photos. When the door shut behind them, I sat on the edge of the bed and cried for the first time, not for him, but for the version of myself who thought love didn't need boundaries. Wednesday morning, the comments shifted. Someone reposted a clip from the live stream. The moment Ethan said, "I'm kicking her out." Another clipped security asking, "Are you on the lease?" People stitched them together. Questions replaced certainty. Wait, if it was her apartment, why was he changing the locks? This isn't adding up. By Thursday, commentary accounts picked it up. The headline changed. "Influencer tries to kick girlfriend out of her own apartment on IG Live." It trended for 6 hours. I didn't post a single thing. I let the truth do what it does best when it finally gets air. Ethan's follower count dropped like a leaking balloon. Elf mil 5 cents. Ons mil. 2 mil 8 cents. Friday morning, his account went private. By noon, everything was gone. The live. The IG video. Even older posts where he'd tagged me. Erased. I felt empty. Not victorious. Just quiet. The internet moved on, as it always does. And for the first time in weeks, my apartment sounded like itself again. No ring lights, no scripts, no audience. Just me. And the echo of a story that had finally finished telling itself. It's been 3 weeks. That's how long it took for my life to feel like it belonged to me again. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just steady, mine. Ethan moved back in with his parents. That's what mutual friends told me anyway. I didn't ask. I didn't check. I learned early that curiosity was just another doorway back into the noise. Apparently, he hasn't posted since the account went private. No stories, no reels, no explanations, just silence dressed up as mental health. A few of his former followers messaged me apologies. Most didn't. They never do. The internet doesn't resolve stories. It replaces them. Tuesday night, I stood in my kitchen and realized something small but telling. I was cooking without feeling watched. No lens. No invisible audience waiting to decide if my life was interesting enough. I didn't sue him. Devin said I could. He laid it out cleanly. Defamation, documented lies, recorded admissions. But I didn't want to drag my life through another performance. The live stream had already been its own trial. And honestly, that was enough. Sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is too quiet, I miss him. Not the version who spoke in captions and metrics. The version from that birthday party. The man who laughed too loud, who made me feel chosen. The man I thought was real. But then I remember him kneeling at my door, screwdriver in hand, smiling for 12,000 people while trying to erase me from my own home. And the missing fades quickly. The ring light is still in the corner. I use it now for video calls. It's annoyingly good lighting. Life is like that, I guess. You don't always get justice. Sometimes you just get your space back. And sometimes that's the real ending.